In this video, we will discuss a new topic, project planning. Let us see what is meant by this project planning. Project planning is emerging as an important area of project management. Project planning covers all aspects relating to an enterprise or a firm. Broadly, planning implies comprehensive and coordinated activities in all facets of an enterprise and is aimed at the acceleration of development of an enterprise. So planning implies comprehensive and coordinated activities in all facets of an enterprise. And it is done to accelerate the development of the enterprise. A planned project is a tool to achieve the objectives of the project at a minimum cost. So if you have a plan or if you have a planned project, then you can achieve the objectives of the project at minimum cost. Or if you plan each and everything, then that can be done effectively at the minimum cost. Therefore, we require planning in project implementation. So project planning becomes very important because using project planning, you can achieve the objectives of the project by spending less money or at minimum cost. Let us see what is planning. Broadly speaking, planning is an effort to develop and allocate financial and manpower resources. So we have financial resources and manpower resources. How to develop that resources and how to allocate that resources under certain conditions. And that is what is actually done in the planning process. Broadly speaking, planning is an effort to develop and allocate financial and manpower resources as soundly as possible under certain conditions and to be as well prepared as possible for the future. So we must be prepared to face the challenges of the future, and for that we need planning. But planning is different from forecasting. Forecasting is predicting something about the future outcome. That is what we usually do in forecasting. But planning is different because planning does not give us a guarantee that something will be done in a right way. We are trying to do something in a right way, but the outcome we don't know actually. Means even if you plan for something, then the outcome may be different from what you expect. So the results cannot be guaranteed. The results cannot be guaranteed in the planning process. Plans are certainly made in advance of an anticipated result. We don't know the result, but we try to realize the objective or we try to get the result in a planned way, but we don't know whether the result will be there or not. The fact that results cannot be guaranteed does not condemn planning or condone the failure of the planning. So the mere fact that a result cannot be guaranteed, that does not amount to condemning the planning process or condoning the failure of the planning. You cannot blame the planning process just because of the fact that you have not got the right results. What is important is whether you plan for it or not. Outcome, we actually don't know. But in forecasting, you are predicting the outcome. You are predicting the outcome in forecasting. In planning, we do everything to achieve something, but we don't know actually what will be the outcome. Planning is more than a mathematical exercise. Of course, in planning process, we put in certain data, certain mathematical calculations we do in planning process, but it is more than a mathematical exercise. It is actually a blueprint for action. It is known as management by objectives. That means we are trying to implement some policies, or we are trying to plan some policies because we have a set objectives. We need to realize some objectives. We need to materialize some objectives. We have some objectives in mind. That is why we plan something. We start we start a firm or an enterprise with certain objectives. So planning is management by objectives. It is management by objectives. We are guided by objectives. We are led by the objectives. We are actually managed by the objectives in the project planning process. Planning is a continuous process. It's not a discontinuous one. It is a continuous one. Therefore, there may not be sufficient segregation of the various functions. Various functions are actually interconnected. You cannot completely segregate, differentiate one function from the another function. Even small units can also undertake the planning process. Planning is not necessarily something which can be taken by the big firms. Even the small firms can go for planning, because the benefits that are derived from planning are enormous. If you do something in a planned way, the benefits are more. Therefore, even the small units can go for the planning. There are certain techniques of planning. Actually, talking about the techniques of planning, we must understand that the planning was first introduced by the multinational corporations as an instrument of management, control, and business development. And if your business is a small one, as long as your business is a small one, then you need not rely on a planning process. Because if the business is very small, it is possible to adapt itself to a change without planning. But think of a big business. If your institution grows into a multinational organization, then you will be compelled to decentralize your activities. You cannot alone do all things. You have to delegate your authority to different people, to different branches, to different subsidiaries. Then planning becomes very essential. So in the case of a big firm, in the case of a multinational organization, planning is essential, necessary, because in a multinational organization, you have to decentralize the activities. You have to delegate the authority to different branches and subsidiaries. Then you need to plan each and everything. This is an overview of planning process. Along with that, we present the control process. So if you have a planning, then you can control the things. If you have a planning, then you can control the things. Planning is very important, because only with planning you will be able to control the process. So first we set an organizational objective, then there will be a strategic planning, a long range one, followed by the preparation of operating budgets. On the other side, capital budgets will be prepared, and there will be performance measurement, means how does each sector perform, that will be measured, and the measurement will be evaluated. That measurement will be used for performance evaluation. Based on evaluation, we will revise the plan, we will revise the budget of the project. All these things will be undertaken in the planning and the control process. What are the phases or stages of planning? Broadly, there are 4 important phases of planning or stages of planning. The first one definitely is the choice of definition of objectives and goals, or setting objectives and goals. While setting objectives and goals, you need to inquire for alternative courses of action. You have to identify consequences. results, you have to measure the consequences, and you have to also understand uncertainties, assessment of uncertainties which affect the consequences of the project. So first phase in planning process is give a definition or define the objectives and goals of the project or of the enterprise that you are going to start. That is very important. Second, after deciding the objectives and goals, you have to prepare an operating plan, execution plan. You have to mean how the things will be operated to realize the objective. Preparation of operating plans to achieve these objectives. Third, we will develop a strategy. We will develop a strategy, evolve a strategy, and we will take strategic decisions in order to integrate these plans. Finally, we will go for implementation. It's execution. We will implement what we have planned. So there are 4 phases of planning. One is setting the objectives and goals, followed by the preparation of operating plans. After that, we will evolve strategies, and finally, we will implement. Then, about strategy, objectives and strategies. We know that it is very difficult to fix objectives, and it is very difficult to choose the strategies. That is why it is often said the most critical and difficult task in the planning is to establish objectives and strategies for the future. Identification of strategy is quite different because you need to change your strategies as you go in the process of planning. As you proceed in the process of planning, you may have to revise, change your strategies. So it is very difficult for an entrepreneur, for a businessman, to establish the objectives and strategies for the future. The establishment of objectives begins with an examination of the organization as it exists. So first we have to see the organization. We have to examine the nature of the organization to fix objective. Then we need to identify a statement identifying each major business and major market served, which are the market where the products need to be sold. So that we have to consider, and a statement of the current objectives and strategies of each unit. In short, the first and foremost phase in planning process is defining objectives and strategies. And that phase is something very difficult because we have to consider many things while defining objectives and strategies of the planning process. Then we need to do a SWOT analysis. And you may know what is meant by this SWOT analysis. SWOT, S-W-O-T. S means strength. W means weakness. O means opportunities. T means threats. Strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. Then these are the 4 things. We need to analyze these 4 things. Strength is positive, but weakness is negative. Opportunity is also positive, but threat, challenges, that is negative. So we need to increase strength and reduce weakness, and we need to increase opportunities and reduce threats. In other words, we have to convert weakness into strength and threats into opportunities. This we must do. That means in the fixation of the objectives and strategies of the firms, we need to consider these four aspects: strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. In SWOT analysis, SWOT, SWOT analysis, we are trying to identify the strength, the weakness, opportunities, and threats. And we will try to convert weakness into strength and threats into opportunities so that strength and opportunities are getting increased while weakness and threats are getting reduced. They will be reduced. They will be minimized. Weakness and threats will be minimized. Strength and opportunities will be maximized. Now, the next step in establishing objectives and strategies to formulate existing objectives into concise and consistent set of statements. So you need to convert your objectives and strategies into certain statement, and that statement should cover many things. What are the things to be covered in statement? Financial things, market position, managerial positions, organizational development, innovation, and responsibility. All these things must be put in the form of a statement. What the firm is going to do based on these things: financial aspect, market position, management, organization, etc. The next phase in planning process, in project planning, is preparation of these programs, budgets, and controls. The next step is to convert the strategies. So we have strategies here. And these strategies are to be converted into action plan. So strategies, we need to convert the strategies into action plan. We need to convert the strategies into action plan. The next step is to convert the strategies into action plans to be implemented by the organization. The action plan should be communicated to the organization through assignments that identify specific projects, short-term goals, requirements, and times or periods of their accomplishment. So based on strategies which we have evolved, we need to develop an action plan. And action plan should cover all these things: program, budgets, and controls which are to be exercised. Action plans result in very specific resource allocations. That is why we need a budget for that, which may be quantified through a budget. So action plans result in specific resource allocations. How much resources should be allocated to a particular department, to the production of a particular commodity? How much resources or finance should be set aside to purchase raw materials? So these decisions we have to take. And for that, we need a budget. For example, governments do have budget for this. In every budget, what we do is that we will earmark, we will distribute money for each and every sector. This much money is for education, this much money for fisheries. Like that we will do. Likewise, in a project also, you have to specify the resource allocation, and that should be quantified through a budget. What is a budget? A budget is a detailed schedule of expected income and expenses. It expresses financial and profitability goals for the first year of an action plan. So it expresses the financial and profitability goals of the action plan. Now, what is the significance of this control? As I have told you, control is also very important. Because in a project or in a company, without control, you cannot do anything. The essence of control is the ability to establish standard of performance for each organization unit. So you need to fix the standard of performance for each organization unit. What should be the standard of performance? How much work each person should do? How much output should be produced? How much profit should the firm create in every year? So this kind of standard of performance, just like how much mark a student should get, standard of performance should be decided. Then only you will be able to control the people. So the essence of control is the ability to establish standard of performance for each organization unit. Performance can be measured against these standards and corrective action can be taken. Suppose that a department does not attain the prescribed standard of performance, then you can take an action against that department. A teacher is not performing well. We have fixed a standard of performance for a teacher, that if the teacher is not performing well, or if the teacher's performance does not come to that standard, then you can take corrective action. So exercising control and taking corrective action will be successful if you set a standard of performance. So in the preparation of the project plan, you have to fix the standard of performance. Why is standard of performance fixed? And that is done to exercise control. That is done to control the people and to take corrective action. Now we come to the last stage. That is the implementation of plans. Plans have no meaning if they are not implemented. So if suppose that you have prepared a plan but not implemented, then there is no meaning in preparing the plan. So plans will have meaning if they are implemented. Plans will have meaning if they are implemented. A plan which is not implemented does not have any meaning. So here the management should constantly know how closely the action follows the plan and to do whatever is needed to bring the performance in line with the plan. Managers should constantly follow these things, whether the things are done according to the plan or not. If the performance goes in line with the plan or not. So that has to be monitored, that has to be looked into by the management. It is a variance from the plan which signals the need of corrective action. So if somebody varies from the plan, if something goes away from the plan, if something is done not in accordance with the plan, then there is a need of the corrective action. That means we need corrective action if there is a variance from the plan, if there's a difference from the plan, if people do not do things according to the plan, then that signals the need for corrective action. And this ought to be achieved through an efficient system of management, information, and monitoring feedback information. So we must take feedback information from people, how much you have done. So this is your target. This is what we expect from you. You must produce this much. So if you do not produce this much, what is the reason for that? So these kinds of feedback information we must be getting from the people, and corrective action should be taken. So if there is a variance from the plan, and that signals the need for corrective action. The management of the plan is also very important. Management planning falls into three distinct types of planning activities. Management planning that falls into three distinct types of planning activities. One is strategic planning. Why is strategic planning undertaken? This is for deciding long-term objectives to be done by the corporate management. In the case of small-scale industries, it is done by the entrepreneur or the proprietor. So strategic planning is normally done by the corporate management for deciding long-term objectives. Second one, action plan. Action plan is for achieving a qualified level of performance during the strategic planning period to be done by the executive management. So we will fix a standard level of performance, and we will try to see whether the standard level of performance is achieved or not. So that is a action plan, because we fix the standard of performance, or we fix the target for each department and each person, and we try to see whether the department and the person, whether they do fall in line with the level of performance or not. In the case of small scale units, this will be prepared and looked after by the entrepreneurs. In the case of small scale industry, action plans are prepared for production, sales, finance, and profitability. But in the case of the big corporations, this need to be done by the executive management. And next is operational planning. For developing performance targets for a much shorter period, usually 1 year, in order to provide effective tools for management, control to be done in consultation with operating management, that is marketing department, finance section, etc. So here we develop performance targets. We develop targets for a short period, and we consult the operating management, marketing department, finance department, etc. We consult them. So every year, usually for 1 year, we prepare or develop a performance targets for short period, that is usually for 1 year, in consultation with the operating management, that is marketing department and finance section, etc. So these are the 3 kinds of management planning, where the managers are expected to do these things. One is strategic planning, second action plan, and third is operational planning. Now, here some very valid questions arise. How much do we change our style of management to enable every level of management, indeed every member of the staff, to contribute? So the real question is, how do we change our style of management to enable every level of management to contribute? That means we must enable each and every person to contribute to the project. So means every person should contribute to the project. And to enable each and every person to contribute to the project, to contribute to the factory, but to contribute to the firm, how can we change our style of management? In what way you can change the style of management so as to enable each and every member of the staff to contribute to the company? This is a very important question which arises in the management, especially in the human resource management of a company. Is organization structure appropriate to the objectives? That is another important question we need to answer. The structure of the organization, structure of the company, is it appropriate to the objectives we set? Third question, is there a fair basis for fixing the prices for the transfer of services and funds among the different responsibility areas? Means, how do we fix the prices for the transfer of services? So if a person's service is changed from one area to another area, then how do we assess such a change? Is there a fair basis for fixing that? That is also an important question we need to answer at this juncture. Here we need to answer these 3 valid questions while thinking about the project management, project planning, especially management of the project. We need to answer these 3 crucial questions. How much do we change, or how much do we change our style of management to enable everyone to contribute? And is the organization structure appropriate to the objectives? Is there a fair basis for fixing the prices for the transfer of services among different responsibility areas or among different areas? Now, we have to consider another important concepts related to this project planning, that is increased innovation. We know that innovation is very important because innovation will provide the basis for the sustainability of an organization. Only through innovation you can exist in the market. If you do not innovate yourselves, then you will be thrown out of the market. So innovation is very important. It will provide the basis for the sustainability of the organization. And we know that only those organizations which innovate themselves will be sustainable, or they will only exist for a long period of time. So innovation is very important. Means if you take the case of the social platforms, social media platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp. They always come out with different changes in their appearance, in the mode of operations, in the services they provide to the customers. Means if they do not change, if they do not make changes in Facebook and WhatsApp, we will be shifting from such platform to other platforms. So it is through innovation, actually, they try to capture the audience, and they try to ensure that the customers are with them, and that is assured through the process of innovation. So innovation will provide the basis for the sustainability of an organization. Richard Foster, in his book Innovation, has sketched the curve of performance versus effort for technological progress. So technological progress and performance, the relation between these two things has been sketched out by Richard Foster in his very famous book, Innovation. So there is a relation between these two things, performance and technological progress. So if you make technological progress, if you innovate, then there will be more improvement in the performance. The result is an S-shaped curve that moves from infancy to explosion and then a gradual maturation. The key to sustainability is the ability to glide through successive such S-curves. We will see what is this S-curve. Now let us look at this figure. This is the S-curve. Here along this horizontal axis, X-axis, we show technological progress, and here performance, Y-axis, or vertical axis shows performance. So this S-curve actually shows the relationship between performance and technological progress. This is a S-curve. This is a first S. First S. Okay, so we start from here. As technological progress takes place, performance increases. Okay, performance increases. But from here, see here, from here to here, performance increases. But after that, performance slightly declines. That is, business declines here. In this portion, see, in this portion, business declines. Okay, so from here to here, there is an upward movement, just like S. S means we write S like this. So from here to here, an upward movement. Okay, if you do not innovate at this point, if you suppose that if you do not innovate at this point, ഒരു ഇന്നോവേഷൻ നമ്മൾ ഈ പോയിന്റിൽ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നില്ല എങ്കിൽ ബിസിനസ് താഴോട്ട് പോകും. ആ താഴോട്ട് പോകുന്നതാണ് ഈ ഡോട്ടഡ് ലൈനിൽ കാണിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ഇവിടെ നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു ഇന്നോവേഷൻ കൊണ്ടുവന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എഗെയിൻ ഇറ്റ് വിൽ ഗോ അപ്പ്. ഇവിടെ വീണ്ടും അത് താഴോട്ട് പോകും. താഴോട്ട് പോകുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് ഇവിടെയും വീണ്ടും ഒരു ഇന്നോവേഷൻ നിങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടുവന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വീണ്ടും അത് മുകളിലോട്ട് പോകും. ഇങ്ങനെ സക്സസീവ് എസ്സുകൾ, സക്സസീവ് എസ്, ഒരു എസിന് ശേഷം അടുത്ത എസ്, അതിനുശേഷം അടുത്ത എസ്, ഇങ്ങനെ മുന്നോട്ട് പോകണമെങ്കിൽ ഇന്നോവേഷൻ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആണ്. ഇന്നോവേഷൻ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ ഇങ്ങനെ നിങ്ങൾ മുന്നോട്ട് പോകാനായിട്ട് പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. ഇന്നോവേഷൻ ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താ സംഭവിക്കുക? ഇഫ് ദർ ഈസ് നോ ഇന്നോവേഷൻ, ഇന്നോവേഷൻ സംഭവിച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ഈ ഡോട്ടഡ് ലൈനിൽ താഴോട്ട് പോകും. ഇതിവിടെ എല്ലാം ബിസിനസ് കുറയുന്നതാണ്. ബിസിനസ് കുറയുക എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അർത്ഥം ഇന്നോവേഷൻ സംഭവിക്കുന്നില്ല. സംഭവിക്കുന്നെങ്കിൽ ബിസിനസ് താഴോട്ട് പോകും. ഇന്നോവേഷൻ സംഭവിച്ചാൽ യു വിൽ ബി മൂവിങ് അപ്വേർഡ്, മുകളിലോട്ട് പോകും. അതാണ് ബിസിനസ് ഗോസ് ഓൺ ടു ന്യൂ ഹൈറ്റ്സ് ഹിയർ. With innovation, business goes on to new heights. If there is no innovation, business will come down. So this shows the relationship between performance and technical progress. So in project planning, innovations, there should be scope for innovation. And if you do not innovate, then the business goes down, business will decline. So if you innovate, then business will go into new heights. So this is what is explained here. The Richard Foster in his book Innovation has sketched the curve of performance versus effort for technical progress. The result is an S-shaped curve. Then the key to sustainability. Look here, the key to sustainability. The key to sustainability is the ability to glide through successive such S-curves, means S-curves. If you are able to glide through successive S-curves, then you will be successful in your business. Now, there is another concept called cannibalization. That means implicit in continuous innovation is the importance of cannibalization. Intel is one of the few organizations that have perfected the act of cannibalization. You might know the Intel company or Intel product. Then this is a computer-based thing, Intel. As the market of a processor, Intel is a processor begins to mature. Intel launches a superior processor and it tries to make the market graduate to its new offerings. Suppose if you see the Samsung phones, you can see that they always make superior products so that they can exist in the market. For example, why has this Nokia disappeared from the market? You might know the Nokia phones. Nokia phones have disappeared from the market. Why have they disappeared from the market? Nokia phones have disappeared from the market. Why? The reason is that they do not innovate themselves so that they can make superior products. So if you make superior products, if you launch superior products, then you will try to make the market graduate to its new offer. Means you will exist in the market. Then your initial processor will be taken over by your superior processor. Okay, as a market of a processor begins to mature, Intel company launches a superior processor and tries to make the market graduate to its new offering. This not only preempts imitators, ഇത് അനുകരിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നവരെ ഒഴിവാക്കുക മാത്രമല്ല, but also keeps margins high for Intel. അവിടെ തന്നെ profit margin ഒക്കെ കൂടി തന്നെ നിൽക്കും. So in fact, with its continual innovation and cannibalization, Intel has been able to create an artificial monopoly for itself. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഒരു superior processor, Intel എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കമ്പനി അവർ superior processor എപ്പോഴും കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നുണ്ട്. They exist in the market. They still monopolize the market. Like that, if your project has a scope for innovation, then through this kind of cannibalization, you will be able to exist in the market by launching superior products to replace your own earlier products. Then if you go on launching superior processor or products, then you will be able to exist in the market. Then there is another important concept related to it, which is situational appraisal. Situational appraisal is nothing but it is concerned with an evaluation of the ability of a small-scale unit to perform the essential task of the business in which it wishes to specialize. Suppose that a new unit comes up in a particular segment. Then if the new unit is able to evaluate the business environment, then they will be in a position to exist in the field, or they will be in a position to continue in the field. That means we are appraising the situation in which we are placed, or in which we are supposed to produce the goods, in which or where we wish to specialize. So a situational appraisal is also very important in project planning, because that helps you to evaluate the ability of a small-scale unit to perform the essential task of the business in which we wish to specialize. It searches the whole spectrum of the SSI to identify its strength. So if you are operating in a particular industry, for example, take the case of the computer industry. If you start a new venture in the field of the computer, then you will be analyzing all other SSIs producing the same goods. Then you will be looking into their strength and weakness, opportunities and threats. You will be analyzing that. That is what is called the situational appraisal. You are actually evaluating your own company, your own co-companies, in the sense that your own business environment in which many companies are there. So you are trying to study the work pattern, the strength and weakness, opportunities and threats which they face. And that is why it is called a situation appraisal. You are giving an appraisal, you are taking an appraisal of the situation in which the company is placed. Then another aspect of the situation appraisal is an examination of the current financial performance. Of course, you have to take the current financial performance. Then you have to consider the market share, or how much share of the market, how much part of the market is served by the company. So you have to look into all these aspects. In short, situation appraisal is concerned with an evaluation of the ability of a small scale unit to perform the essential task of the business in which it wishes to specialize. And with this, we finish the explanation of the project planning. As I said, project planning is very important, and there are 4 important phases of project planning. You must bear in mind these points. First, setting the objectives and goals, then preparation of operating plans, evolving strategies, and implementation. And what is a project planning? That we have also explained. And project planning needs to be distinguished from forecasting. At least you must remember these points. What is project planning and what are the different phases of project planning? These 4 phases you must remember. And the SWOT analysis is very important. Then action plan and management planning. There are 3 types of management planning activities: strategy planning, action planning, and operational planning. These are the important things which you need to take care of. And this is also important. Increased innovation and S-shaped curve. Means this is also very important because this shows the relationship between performance and the technological progress, as explained by the Richard Foster. So with this, we finish this class. Thank you.